How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 24th of June 2022. So while the markets are boring us half to death, I've decided I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. Okay, and I'm going to kind of guide you through the process that I use when I'm looking to engage in the markets and why I'm being so patient. Right, I'm going to use CHSB as the example, which is basically Swissborg's utility token, and you're going to see when we get to the chart, while I go through this entire process, how patience plays an absolute key factor, before you start to engage in the markets. It's very easy to go through that kind of process of, well, we're so low, I'm just going to kind of grab a little bit now, and if it goes any lower, I'll just grab some more, and so on. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing, but for me, and I'm just going to show you at least, from my perspective and what it is that I look to do, I want to make sure that when I am engaging, I'm doing it at the most opportune time. All right. So if we get over to the chart, I just want to quickly show you something on Swissborg, right? So this is CHSB. And you can see price is currently at 21. All right. It's a great price. Yeah. I've been in CHSB for a very, very long time. And when you look at it from this perspective, it's like, we saw, all the way up roughly around about sort of 176-ish, and now we're currently down at 21 cents. It's really, really cheap. Yeah. And if you fall into the trap of looking at a chart like this and saying, these levels up here, at peak, and obviously this level down here, obviously the downturn, the difference is absolutely huge. If we take the level itself, right, you're talking roughly about 90% down, right? Now, again, 90% may seem insane. It's like, wow, okay, but should we really be thinking about engaging in, CHSB in this example, down at 21 cents? Now, on the surface of it, yes, it looks like an absolutely fantastic price. As long as you believe in the project, as long as you believe in the company, as long as you believe in, what they're doing and all of that normal good stuff that comes with vetting, trusting projects, and so on, then it makes absolute perfect sense to be, trying to grab something this cheap. But here's the problem. Is that correct investing? Whenever we're engaging in the markets, we're trying to do it in a way, right, that promotes healthy investing, not now, 5 years to come. Because as you're going through this educational kind of process, this learning curve, right, of learning to become a much better investor, investing solely, and I absolutely believe this, is solely dependent on how you and your psychology is managed and maintained throughout the time that you're learning to become a better investor. For example, if you have a gambler's mentality and you're, predominantly a risk taker, you're going to find it much harder to engage in the markets, to learn how to, become a kind of seasoned, calm investor, because your impulses will continually keep rising to the surface, and you'll just want to buy. You'll see things in a slightly skewed way. For example, CHSB is really, really cheap down at these levels, right? So how do we take all of this information, right, and start to look at price or look at charts, companies, assets, and so on, or investments in this case, in a way that makes sense, right? And again, I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm just saying this is the way that I do it. I'm going to kind of just show you what I'm looking to do with CHSB, right? So because I'm familiar with CHSB, because I've been, watching price for a very long time, I've kind of gone through all of this. I sat through this as well, just so you all know. Price kind of had a little bit of volatility here, and then obviously price is just continuing to drive lower, and this is where we currently are now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to level that makes sense to me, which is basically down here, right? This is the first level of kind of the reset on the chart, the first initial impulse from here, okay, all the way up to, sort of all-time high, and then all the way back down to the first impulse. If price gets down here, that will be neutralizing this move to the upside. It kind of resets or voids, that previous move, so to speak. And in doing so, you're effectively in a position where price starts to pick up buy-side liquidity for its next leg to the upside. Now, I want to make a clear distinction. This is not support. Yeah. And the levels that I make reference to above, they're not resistance. These are not support and resistance levels. They're areas of liquidity that, if they hold, are showing us, what price is doing. This is so important to understand, because a lot of people see the things that I do and they automatically assume, right, that this is, support and resistance. It really isn't support and resistance. Our job, my job, when I'm looking at the charts and I'm trying to ascertain what's going on, is to try to figure out what price is picking up and what price is dealing off. If I can figure that out, I can understand the order flow. And I use all of the concepts and tools that I've kind of modified, learned, developed over the years to arrive at that understanding, right? So for me, the first place that I would even consider engaging with CHSB has to be down here at 11. Where, not because we're close, not because it's where it's, where it starts, not because it's support or anything like that. It's simply because if price gets there, it tells me something. It tells me that price has reset. It tells me that price may start to pick up buy side liquidity. So if it gets down there, that's when I start paying attention. So I'm looking at the chart. I'd be thinking, okay, we've hit 11. Doesn't mean it's just an automatic buy pile in. It hits 11, then you start to, kind of work out on the lower time frames. Am I seeing confirmation that there's pickup of buy side liquidity? Is price just kind of grinding down there? Is there any price sensitivity there? Did price hit it and move away very quickly? Did it spike through? All of these things tell us something completely, there's a lot of variables, and each one of the scenarios will tell us something completely different. Based on what it's saying will determine whether I engage with CHSB or not, right? So first and foremost, it has to hit 11. Now, once it hits 11, okay, assuming it hits 11, obviously, I'd drop down to the daily and I'd kind of figure out the move into this level, how it got there. Did it accelerate the velocity? I'm not really a believer in volume analysis, so to speak, but the way that these candles move show you whether liquidity is drying up or whether there's an abundance of liquidity around the areas, where price is kind of moving around. So we'd ascertain what's going on the daily chart. Then I'd drop down to the 4-hour chart and I would do the same thing, try to figure it out. Going up in this area and what it does as it goes up is just as important as what happens when it goes down. So the lead up here, for example, if it goes up and then it just had a really nasty drop into this liquidity pool down here, that would tell us one story. If price just basically grinds sideways for a little bit, then drops sideways for a little bit, runs up, takes out all the liquidity, then reverses very quickly and then drops, that's a completely different story, and so on and so on and so on. Then I'd drop down to the hourly chart and I'd start to break down all of these candles, the little peaks and troughs, the tiny areas of imbalances, the rebalances, how price is moving in and out of all of these liquidity pools, both in and out of the higher time frame liquidity pools, the lower liquidity pools, to find confirmation that picking up buy side liquidity is what it's doing if it drives into that lower level liquidity pool. Now, once all of this happens, what do we do from there? Remember, just because it hits a liquidity pool or a support level or a resistance level, or an indicator is telling you to do something, this is where I think a lot of traders can get into trouble, and why traders generally tend to get into trouble is because they immediately trust what they're seeing straight away without any confirmation after the fact. If an indicator, for example, tells you, that price is doing something, or, you've used that indicator many, many times throughout the years, and it's giving you, a very good indication that price may be oversold or overbought, then immediately acting on that information, you may end up in a situation, right, where you get the after effect, of price shows something, the indicator shows something, you engage, and then you end up saying afterwards, I wish I'd have just waited. Yeah, that's the part that I'm really trying to emphasize. I wish I just waited. 90% of the time, well, between 80 and 90% of the time, if we just wait and let price do its thing, let the indicator tell us whatever it's telling us, let the support resistance tell us, whatever methodology you use, tell us what it's telling us, 80 to 90% of the time, you'll generally find that the second entry is the one that you should be paying attention to, not the first that you think you should be paying attention to or engaging with. So that's just a little idea, what I'm looking to do, with CHSB. Just to quickly go back to the chart before I conclude the video, first and foremost, it has to hit 11. If it doesn't hit 11, I simply cannot engage, with CHSB. And that is a hard and fast rule. There's absolutely no deviation on that. And this is why I can attest, that I'm such a disciplined trader, because I've conditioned and, taught myself throughout the years to refuse, and bury those impulses. I mean, I'm basically an emotionless trader now, but I never used to be like this. I used to have to fight these impulses and emotions, right? Of, wanting to get in and then saying, no, just wait. Because for me, it was always, if I do that and then I never try my best to get on the other side where I know these big investors are, where these big traders are, the people that are really making a lot of money are, then I'm never going to experience what that feels like and kind of understand the process of being patient, of waiting, of being disciplined, of refusing to let the market dictate how you trade it. And with all of that said, I really hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next update. All the best. Take care. Ciao for now.